Check the mic, we're going live. Stories told, they rise and dive. Topics fresh with every spin. You won't guess what's coming in. Every week a new surprise. Minds awake, never lies. Conversations bold and free. Tune in now, just wait and see. This podcast is uncalled for. Catch us here, there's so much more. Laughs and tales you can't ignore. A journey that will leave you floored. In the night or in the day, just press play, we're on our way. Voices sharp, opinions bright.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this podcast Uncalled For. I have another great guest with me today in time for the World Cup, actually. So go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm David Chimbaza. I'm on the other side of the pond in the UK, and I'm into my football. I know you call it soccer. I'm going to call it football for the intents and purposes of the show. I've run my own sports business in football, and obviously the World Cup's coming up, and as a big football fan, it's massive. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait, and I can't wait to talk about it. I think it'd be really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in one of the cities that's a World Cup host this year. So in
Yes.
Kansas City, yeah. In fact, our city, we are hosting 3 of the national teams. One of them is England.
Yeah.
And the other 2 are the Netherlands and Argentina.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big teams to know.
Yeah. Algeria, they're staying in Lawrence, which is nearby, but I don't consider it part of the KC Metro. They're close by. It's a 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
So
Do you notice do you notice a change in the way that people are behaving now that the tournament's coming closer? Are people getting more interested? Is the city getting more interested?
certainly around the city, I'm seeing a lot of World Cup stuff. Our streetcars are decked out in the World Cup paint jobs, and we're getting ready to do a fan fest near the World War I Memorial, which is a huge landmark within the city. And
Can't wait.
yeah, so it's really starting to pick up a little bit and everything, and we're looking forward to seeing folks from all over the world. Hopefully, assuming our dickhead president hasn't pissed everyone off. Yeah.
It's a big event because obviously this is the biggest World Cup that there's ever going to be. There's 48 teams, which is a massive change from the general. So it's a massive tournament. Obviously, it's not just being held in the US, it's being held in Canada and in Mexico as well. There's games being played across, which I think is the first World Cup, certainly for a long time, certainly in my lifetime, where it's being spread across multiple countries. And I think that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think from a fan perspective, I think that'd be quite cool because obviously there's just different venues. But I think for the players, it's going to be a lot of traveling because America's huge as it is, right? But
It is.
the fact that there's other countries involved as well, it'd be quite I know they get paid a lot, but quite a draining tournament for the players traveling, I imagine.
Absolutely. And the United States, we don't have the best public transits. I know that's a huge thing, especially in the UK, that you guys have passenger buses down to a science, it seems like, especially in London, I think. So
It's huge. I mean, the thing is with the UK, and particularly when it comes to sports, obviously I don't know too well how it works logistically that side, but this country is almost built to facilitate football. We complain about it, we complain about the trains, and there is a lot of stuff that doesn't make it easy to travel to matches. But on the whole, it's built for it. So we're built for, because it's not a massive country by size. Like you can get anywhere. I think you can get from the top to the bottom of the country in like 7 hours, maybe, which is not too bad. That's roughly, I think. So you get a lot of cases where when one football team goes to another team, like another club, let's say you go from Manchester to London, Manchester United are playing in London, for example, you'll get a lot of people from Manchester traveling to London and vice versa. And so, because of the way that it's built, they have to make the public transport quite a big deal. Obviously, I know that the model in the US is slightly different when it comes to the franchises. So,
Yeah.
I've never really known like how the away fans work. Do you see a lot of
Um, so I can only speak
that
to
common?
my, yeah, I'm still here. Uh, um, all right, I don't know what the heck's going on, but you can still hear me, right? All right. All right, I'm going to pause for a sec and we'll jump right back in.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Oh, you just came back
Oh,
on. So,
perfect. Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
Just
So
came
I
in.
don't know what the heck happened there. So, but yeah, you will see away fans from time to time, but it's really difficult to get to different cities as an away fan. Uh, I should know is from my experience as an away fan at Arrowhead, uh,
Yeah,
being a being a St. Louis fan in the NFL, and then going to St. Louis, Kansas City to St. Louis. Yeah, we share states together,
yeah,
San Missouri, but that's 4 hours driving, 6 hours by train.
yeah. It's long.
Yeah.
It's a long. It's. I think it'll be interesting, and I think that the last World Cup. So the last World Cup was held in Qatar, obviously out in the Middle East. And there was a lot of questions before the tournament, even when I was doing my university, because I studied sport business, I studied football business, and we were really looking into the World Cup. Maybe about what 2021, we were looking. The tournament was held in 2022, so about 2021, 2022, we were like doing a lot of case studies around the World Cup and just looking at the transport side of things, the way that the fans are going to work. Of course, there are a lot of political agendas before the tournament, but when it came to the transport, it was a question of, well, is Qatar going to be ready to host such a major tournament? Major tournaments are massive that you're going to get fans from all over the world coming into your country, and obviously not everyone's going to be able to drive everywhere because people won't they won't know where they're going. Do you know what I mean? So they'll rely on the public transport. They'll rely on the trains. I imagine a lot of people will fly from game to game to follow the countries. And so I do think it will test in a different way the transportation system. I think Qatar had to make a lot of changes. They had to build infrastructure to make it to handle the number of people. I know the US won't have that problem necessarily because it's built for that anyways. But I think such a tournament presents such a it's a different challenge. There's people football fans especially are so impatient. They want everything right now. Definitely when I watch the way that the discourse happens of teams underperforming, a lot of the impatience happens, and people are like we want things now. And it's the same when it comes to traveling. I
Mhm.
know, I follow on social media fans who travel and follow their teams. They complain a lot about the lack of transport or the trains, and so it will be interesting to see from that side of things how it works because obviously even the scale is massive, even big because there's more teams, and
Right.
so more fans will be coming. So I mean, it will definitely. I think you'd like to hope that it'll have a lasting effect as well, because the transportation system will have to improve. They'll have to put out more services, and you'd like to hope that hopefully it performs well, right? We don't want it to underperform, but you'd like to hope off the back of it, there'll be changes so that when everyone goes, it doesn't go back to type, it goes back to naturally improving because it, that scale, that volume will be massive. So I'd be interested to see how that works and how people find that experience because I'm sure that it'll be different. But I mean, I want to ask, like, obviously a major tournament's coming into your country, and do you think anything around the fact that you're going to have so many different people? I know people travel to the US again all the time, but a different set of fans, a different set of even sport. I know football's not the biggest sport in the US. How do you feel about that as someone who actually has teams, people coming into your city as well?
Well, that's a lot, but I guess we'll start with the transit portion first.
Yeah,
Um, I would love. We do have a temporary transit plan in place because there is no direct rail to our airport or to the stadium in question. I would like there to be. I think it would improve getting around this city tremendously. And I hope that the powers that be are not short-sighted enough to completely ignore this. I think this is something that I think I'm in agreement with you. This is something that can be built upon, and all that. And I hope that someone's forward thinking enough to say, "Yeah, let's get rail to the airport. Let's get rail to,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and all that." As for the quality of fans that show, I hope we get great fans showing up from England, from Argentina, and so on. And I hope they have a good time and everything. They get to experience American culture, regardless of which city they wind up going to. And I have and since I mentioned airports, I have a suspicion that people are going to be flying around a lot to get
Yeah.
to their games.
I mean, I guess it is. It'll be interesting. I mean, we had the World Cup in 1994. That came over to the US, and
Yep.
that was before my lifetime. And I think that seemed from the out, like from looking into it, from doing some reading, that seemed to be quite a decent tournament. I mean, obviously the reasons why FIFA and the big football heads want America is because it's the biggest untapped market in the world, and because football is not the biggest sport. We've got NFL, American
Yep.
football, basketball, baseball,
Hockey.
even NHL, hockey. Yeah, that they're bigger sports than football, and so for this sport, our sport, it's been the biggest question is how can we do anything in America? We have leagues, so obviously in England there's the Premier League, that's the league we have,
Yep.
but there's La Liga in Spain, there's the Bundesliga in Germany, but particularly in Spain and Italy, one of the conversation discussion points that's been happening for years is to take a league match. You know how in I think it's the NFL, they come over to England to Wembley
Yep.
to
Yep.
play a game. Yeah, yeah. So football has been wanting to do that for ages. Like I think there was meant to be. I think Barcelona were meant to play a game, a league match in. I can't even remember what city it was now. Somewhere in the US this season, but it got called off. It got cancelled, and even in England in the Premier League, they've been flirting with that idea for 10 years, maybe. How can we get
Right.
into the US? Obviously, they come over for preseason, like out of season games. We have the preseason and the Premier League Cup and different matches, but it's not the same as a league match. But the issue that football has always had, particularly in England, is the tribalism here is nuts. So it would be the backlash to be able to go and take my team's Manchester United. I'm wearing a Manchester United top.
I saw
If
that. Yeah.
Manchester United, yeah, if Manchester United went to play a league match in the States, which commercially would be fantastic. I think it'd be an unbelievable thing. And for the people in the States, it'd be amazing.
Mhm.
But the tribalism here would just be incredible. People would protest so
They'd be
much.
pissed off. Yeah.
They'd be really annoyed. And it's so funny because people don't even protest as much for actual government issues as they do for football.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So they've always been trying to find a way to make it in America. And obviously with this tournament they had the Club World Cup. That happened last year. That was they made a big thing out of that. And obviously this year now the football's really trying to compete with basketball and the other sports, which I don't think will work because those sports are just too big. Do you know what I mean? Even they're massive, and
Mhm.
for football to be able to overtake that, you'd need the MLS to be huge, which it's
Yeah.
not,
It's not.
unfortunately. Yeah, yeah.
It's not
So
because I think in part it's not because MLS continues to follow the American franchise model.
yeah,
They're not real clubs. Now I'll give Sporting Kansas City a bit of a shout out that they tried to be as close to a normal club as possible, allowing their grounds to be used by the likes of England and Argentina, but also we have a pretty decent amateur football side here in Kansas City, and I've
Yeah.
gone to see a few of those games, and those guys came to know me through just
Oh, nice.
attending and watching the amateur matches. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You made a good point about them trying to be a lot more like
mhm,
the traditional clubs, and I think that's really really important. I guess the what makes sport in general is the fans' allegiance to any particular team or any particular club. So you look at how many people go and watch NBA games, how many people go to the ground to watch the NFL games because they feel a level of connection to
mhm,
that club, right? And I
yeah,
guess when looking at some of the MLS clubs, they struggle to capture that attention. I mean, if you're a fan of, let's say you're a fan of the Lakers and LA Galaxy
mhm,
is in your area as well, and the LA Lakers have given you more of a reason to emotionally connect rather than the Galaxy. You're not going to go watch the Galaxy play. Even I don't know what, and I use basketball because that's the one American sport I know the
all
best
right.
out of all of them. Even
It's,
into Miami, right? Obviously, they're massive with Lionel Messi being over there now, but
yeah,
they're massive in the sense of football because he's there. But if you're someone who's never been interested in football, then into Miami is still just another club or franchise, or you're going to go watch your team that's been your team for ages, and that's the thing that football's struggling to compete with. It's not necessarily even if the MLS got really really good. Let's say really good because it's also got a skill. Sorry, it's also got a bit of a skill problem in terms of the best players aren't playing in that league, and they won't because the better teams are in Europe at the moment.
yeah,
So there's just a lot of factors that make it so difficult for football to make it in America. Really, really tough. And I respect them for trying, but even off of the back of this World Cup, it's the reason why they've gone massive. It's the reason why with the Club World Cup, you had Trump giving the trophy to the winning team. They wanted to make a massive deal out of it, and it's tough. Like I don't know how that's you've got to break the mold and give people a reason to choose LA Galaxy over the LA Lakers. Do you know what I mean? But that's not going to happen.
yeah.
Not anytime soon, anyways.
I agree. Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned Lakers, the Lakers. Lakers and Boston. Those are the two big teams in the NBA
Yeah,
championships wise. Um, yeah, Galaxy are up there with for MLS, which started as a result of the '94 World Cup, actually.
yeah,
So, but like I said, it's more the American style with franchises, and well, you can. And this is one thing that pisses me off about the American sports model is that teams can move whenever they want. I mentioned I was a St. Louis fan in football, uh,
yeah,
and it's a guy that you guys in England know all too well, one Stanley Kroenke.
yeah,
Uh, and I will tell you on good authority, Arsenal fans hate him too. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot with the you've got Stan Kroenke, you've got Joel Glazer, he's Manchester United, and they have been trying to make football over this side as American as they can.
yeah,
They've really been pushing for it because, of course, in America, like you talked about the franchise, it's so easy for them. The model for that suits them because, like you said, they can just get up and leave. If they feel there's a better opportunity, they don't have to sell the whole investment. They can just get up, move it, and they still get to retain the power, which is unfortunate for the fans. It's unfortunate for you guys because that's not fair. That's
yeah, I
in
agree.
essence, I think it's so anti-sport. In my, I genuinely don't think it has a place in sport that type of thing. But that's the model, and I think that it's. I don't know. I think here we have promotion and relegation with our teams. So
Yep.
there's a risk if your team doesn't do well enough, you go down into division below, and that's the way that it's been structured. They've even tried to get rid of that, and okay, no, I won't say get rid, but they proposed the idea of making it closed. They tried to bring in the Super League, which would have been a closed shop, which was just not, the tribalism thing again just wasn't going to happen.
I,
But I don't know. I think in the whole essence of sport, it doesn't allow for much growth as well, because one of the best things where I'm from is a town called Swindon. We have a small team, Swindon Town. We're in League
First one
Two.
in.
Yeah, yeah. And for teams like that, they're in the bottom division, but they can get
Mhm.
to the Premier League. They can get to the top
Yeah.
division. It's why you go and what. That's why they get so well supported, because the whole point is at any point, no matter how small your team is, amateur, there's a real possibility that under the right circumstances, you could make it and get to the top division. And I guess that's in the competition of sport. I think that's probably the better model. Obviously, we do have our own problems with ownership here as well, because
Yeah.
owners buy clubs that they
It's
can't
the same
afford, and
owners that
then
we're talking about here in the
yeah,
States, like
yeah,
Kroenke
it's
and Glazer and
yeah,
Khan with Fulham and the
yeah.
Jaguars and trying to think who else in oh yeah,
We've got
Leeds.
Todd
That's
Bowley now. Todd Bowley's at Chelsea. He's part. Well, he invested into it,
yeah,
and so there's a huge push from American to get into British clubs, especially
right.
specifically British, because the Premier League, in a football sense, is the biggest domestic competition in the world, and it's it's. But then you have that argument. You have look what happened to Arsenal. Even Arsenal fans, they don't like Stan Kroenke. Um, and for them, they win. Do you know what I mean? They win because they can do whatever they want. They get the power of it. The Glazer family has put so much debt on Manchester United, their own personal debt on Manchester United, and because the club is so massive and it generates so much money for them, they can just afford to do that, and they win because they keep that retention, they keep that money and power. So it's crazy. And it's like, what can you even do as a fan? I feel like it's the same in both circumstances. You just have to kind of accept and just support whatever you can within the circumstances given to you.
Right. Right. I think it's a good way to look at it actually. So yeah. So yeah, and I do agree. Like Manchester United, Manchester City, not there's the passion's there, but I don't think it might not even be up there with Green Bay and Chicago to use a NFL
Yeah,
example.
yeah,
That's that's a pretty intense rivalry and the oldest in the NFL. It's been over 100 years now,
yeah,
but it's nothing like these inner city rivalries that we're talking about in England and yeah, yeah, we're talking about London. You know, Arsenal and Chelsea, they hate each other. Arsenal and Tottenham really hate each other.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I think I think when you have the situation where you're with your friends, right, and your friend one of them supports Man City, one of them supports Man United, and I guess it's the same in the NFL. There's so much just history behind it. I mean, you said 100 years. Can you imagine like the amount of history and bad blood between that period of time? And it's the same in sport. I think that's what I prefer with league. Obviously, it's the international tournament, talking about the World Cups coming up, and there's certain historical rivalries, or if countries are, I say, at odds in the real world, that can create some tension. But generally speaking, with club football, because it happens every season, so it just reignites that all of the time. And I love. I've been to. I've been fortunate to go to Manchester City versus Manchester United a few times, and just the people will work. It's the same people they'll work with on Monday, and on Sunday they'll be hurling so much abuse at each other and go crazy in the stand. But
right.
that's that's the thing with sport. Like it just takes so much out of you. Kind of forget all logic and reasoning and go crazy. And I really hope that the World Cup and this tournament can showcase that the good side of things. I think I've seen some pretty cool things that would suggest that there's going to be good parts of the tournament, really, really good. And I think the World Cup in general is always like a good atmosphere, a good vibe, and good energy, and will showcase that. And I guess that's what they're hoping by bringing more teams in. They've brought, I think, a few teams are going there for the first time, and so with the goal of bringing in smaller countries, let's say smaller nations, who might have different cultures that we've never seen before. We see Brazil;
Yeah.
they bring a lot of like American. I can't say it, but like they bring a lot of like stuff and their the dances and the
Yeah.
colorway is so nice. But there's countries there that we haven't seen before, and I think by showcasing that obviously in one country, the goal is to kind of appeal to sponsors, maybe local businesses, local people to say, hey, look, this is we know you have your sports here, but look at what we can bring to you, which obviously is not actually the case all the time because it's only one tournament.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's something I'm looking forward to seeing too.
yeah,
Especially, I think Cape Verde is one of those new
yeah, yeah.
countries, and
They are.
Curacao, I think, is another one.
Yeah, it's. I'm looking
It is.
forward to it. I think it'll be good, and I think regardless of like what's happening in the world, obviously it's not ideal with the timing.
Mhm.
Um, you kind of have to. Football does this though a lot of the time when it comes to. There's a lot. It's so politically charged, and I don't want to talk about politics to that nth degree, but football does find itself at the heart and circle of it a lot of times. Even Qatar was the same. 2018, it was Russia, which as you can imagine, politically charged as well. So it finds itself in the middle of this, particularly with the World Cup and FIFA. But the president, Gianni Infantino, that's his name. He kind of he's a very interesting character. He got himself very close to Trump in the last few years. Obviously, when Trump won, I think he's been there's been a few times I've seen him in the Oval Office. Trump bought
Yeah, this
Ronaldo.
is second term. Um, it's two non-consecutive terms, but he is
Yeah,
term limited. We don't have to deal
yeah,
with him in a couple of years.
yeah. I know, sure. I'm sure that would be a bit more peaceful, but the FIFA president, Infantino, obviously FIFA are the organisers of the event of the World Cup, but he's been getting really close to Trump because obviously I think he's up for re-election soon, Infantino, the FIFA president, and obviously last year at the Club World Cup they did this whole press conference together. Infantino and Trump are in the Oval Office doing some talk with the trophy, and football fans like to say that we keep football out of politics. That's one
Right.
of our biggest sayings. And then you have the FIFA president literally sat next to Trump, and then you have Cristiano Ronaldo, who's a massive football star, massive football legend. He was invited to the White House, I think it was last year when Trump
Yeah.
was in power. I think he went
Yeah.
there. And then this year, obviously, there was the Inter Miami, they went there, and Lionel Messi was there with the president. And
Mhm.
so the Infantino, and he's never done this. Like he never did it with Putin in 2018, for example. We didn't see him with any of the Qatari heads of state. It's kind of been Trump and Infantino, and he's been really like Infantino's really been complimentary of Trump to say, yeah, he's great, like all these different stuff. And that's the thing with football, and like it picks and chooses when it wants to be political. Do you know what I mean? It picks and chooses which side, and I think sometimes you just want to focus on like what's going on the pitch, but then it takes away from some people's enjoyment. Like the Qatar one was probably the most. I know I said Moscow happened, but the last World Cup in Qatar was possibly the most politically charged tournament I've ever seen. We had teams were threatening to boycott the tournament because of the human rights abuses that were going on there.
Right.
Every single like pundits, people who like talk on the like analyze the game and stuff. So they were getting heavily criticised for agreeing to go to the tournament, even though it was a fantastic opportunity. A lot of the comments underneath some of these guys were saying, "You sold out. You done it for money. Look at what's going on in this country. What you do you know what I mean? Like really, really upset, and a lot of frustration at people for being a part of the tournament.
Right.
And there was just so much backlash around the event. I think the whole tournament was, and rightly so. There was a lot of things that were wrong about the tournament. You know what I mean? But it just goes to show that some people refuse to watch. I mean, some people said, "I'm not watching because of what's going on off the pitch,"
Right.
and so I think it leaves people, football fans, sometimes in a position where they have to choose between morality and just wanting to be a fan and enjoying what's going on. And I think for some people that's frustrating. I'm sure even in this tournament, there'll be some people, especially as things are happening, who will say, I'm not watching this tournament because of what's happening in the Middle East or because of what's happening in certain parts of the. Do you know what I mean? Like they won't get involved, and
Mhm.
I think that's a shame because I think the football product will be really, really good. I imagine a lot of the talk in the next few weeks will be about how is this tournament going to work with what's going on in the world, with what's going on in the Middle East. I think a lot of conversation will be around that. That's what I think will happen anyways, because I know people are worried that they're saying, is it even safe to go there? Or is it even safe to make? You know what I mean? And it's it's because of how people are, how the way the world is, but it makes it complex. You just want to go and people are like, I just want to go watch football, and then and I have to decide whether my morals are in question. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah,
And those are valid concerns, and as an American, I have those concerns as well. I know they're not
yeah,
going to pick on me because I look like a typical white guy American and
yeah,
everything, but as you probably could tell from my last name, I'm still a minority
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything. But and yeah, it's pretty disgusting what ICE has been doing and everything. And and I genuinely I fear for people coming here, but at the same time, if if they uh, at the same time they should be messed
yeah,
with and all that. So, and I hope they're not messed with. Yeah.
yeah. I think we're okay.
Well,
I know a few people who are going out to the tournament, and they're like it'll be fine. So
mhm,
you
yeah,
I'm
good,
excited.
good deal. Yeah. So I think we'll go and wrap it up here. Thanks for coming on, and I appreciate the insights and everything. And best of luck to England in the World Cup. Uh, and on my end, I hope the U.S. does well. I'm not counting on it though. So, all right.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. This podcast is Uncalled For, is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Our opening music is the This Podcast is Uncalled For theme, which was created at suno.com, suno.com. Our outro music is Wepa by Kevin McLeod at incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And good luck to all the teams participating in the World Cup.
Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.